Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction, the Armor Wizard. Zap. We have a body armor demo today. This one's been requested a lot over the last few years by my followers. Dayton Armor, known for making very, very light plates. This is their RF2 model. Now, in full transparency, I got a discount code from them to purchase these at close to full retail with funds that I had from Patreon and from my business. So I dropped a lot of coin on this, so make sure you watch the whole thing. Like and subscribe and share the best you can so I can recover some of the money from this expenditure. This 9.5 by 12.5 inch Sappy medium weighs 3.600 pounds or 1.633 kilograms. It is only 820 thousandths thick or 20.83 millimeters. It is multi-curve. You can see all those nice sexy curves there. We have one right there and one right there. Now for the long-winded spiel over here on my channel, we do all of our body armor demos completely different than pretty much everyone else on YouTube. I'm always after worst case scenario so that you know that if you stop M855A1 going 3,300 feet per second in one of my demos, any type of real world scenario is always going to involve a shorter barrel length and distance, and the likelihood of your plate stopping that round has been increased. Since this is rifle armor, we shoot at 45 feet. We also shoot at 0 degrees because that, again, is worst case scenario. Any type of oblique angle only adds to the amount of material that bullet has to penetrate through. We use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma Plastilina #1 clay from Chiffon. That acts as our compressible media to put the body armor up against. It's around 85 to 90 degrees outside today, and you actually have to certify the clay by heating it up to 100 degrees, and you have an environmental chamber and you drop a giant ball on it and check the dimple. Since we're out here in the woods, we can't do that, so we're just looking at a representation of what backface could be. Looking at the reports that Dayton has on these, if we see something like 60 millimeters in my clay from a 308 shot, that would be likely failing in the NIJ's eyes. Since this employs a ceramic strike face, I checked beforehand, we've gone ahead and dropped each plate on its face 2 times as a preconditioning test per the NIJ. After we've done that, we mark a DT on our plate indicating that we've done the drop test, and then we do a torque test. That's where we apply opposing torque to each side to listen for any cracks, and if we hear any, we mark it with a C. As you see here, both plates 1 and 2 have what I can hear are some cracking on the inside of the plate. Normally speaking, as long as your strike face is laminated to your backing material, those cracks do not negatively impact performance. From what I can tell also, this ceramic strike face extends all the way out to the edge of the plate. Some other companies will sell you a lighter plate because they have a foam ring that can extend sometimes upwards of 1 inch from the edge to sell you a lighter plate, because the NIJ will not shoot any closer than 2 to 3 inches depending on our threat. We use a chronograph whenever possible. We have a Prochrono Pal Digital DLX as well as a Garmin Zero C1 that Cabela sent over. A big thank you to them. I have a campsite link in the description below. If you're looking to pick anything up from Cabela's, there's an affiliate link in there that earns me a sales commission for plugging them on the channel. We need to know the velocity of that bullet because it is certainly possible to either download or upload ammunition or use the complete wrong type. We put a spreadsheet here at the beginning and the end, and we kind of foreshadow all the threats that we're going to shoot at it. Usually I don't know what I'm going to shoot at a plate until I bring it out this day and I dig through the box. We mark our penetrations and our velocities if we get them, and we do a teardown at the end because a lot of my followers are interested in what the different types of materials are that make up these plates. I do want to remind everyone that I am not an NIJ lab, so if you see anything stopped or penetrated over here, you should always defer to the manufacturer to produce accredited lab and recent lab results for those types of threats. And on the flip side, if you're the manufacturer and you see me stop something like M80A1 going 3,300 feet per second, you should send it off to a lab and have that added as a special rifle threat to your panel. Plate number 1 is strapped in and ready to go. Since this is an NIJ 07 RF2 plate, that encompasses 7.62 by 3.9 mild steel core, M193, M855, 5.56, as well as our M80 ball, and that's exactly what I have here. This is our Winchester Lake City Surplus 149 grain full metal jacket with a bimetal jacket, meaning that the jacket should attract a magnet, which I have here, and as you can see, we have bimetal jackets. We'll take 3 shots out of our 22-inch TC compass, since this should give us very close to what the NIJ rates that at 2750 feet per second. We're also running the Garmin Zero C1 side by side with our light screen chronograph. 28, so we were actually a little above spec based on the Garmin. 28, 21. Easy enough. Shots number 1, 2, and 3. Those are about 4 inches apart. I would consider those fair hits. Place those bets in the comments below. Helper hand. Oh, no pass-throughs, folks. Unfortunately, though, the plate is severely delaminated. Actually, the whole plate is delaminated at this point. We will have to be very, very careful on how we shoot plate the rest of these threats on here. Now, as far as our back face, it's about 75 degrees outside today. Clay is somewhat cold. 49 millimeters on that shot. This guy over here, 57 millimeters. And then our first shot up here, right around 15 millimeters. So the back face is going to be pretty iffy on these guys. We'll have to be very, very careful with this plate to see what else we can do with it. But it stopped our RF2 308 threat. Since our backer has started to delaminate from our strike face, we're going to be really careful on the shots that we take. We brought out our 22-inch TC compass in 5.56 NATO. We have 2 threats here. Our 55 grain full metal jacket M193, known for popping steel. Polyethylene will stop it. Usually ceramic strike faces, which we have on our Dayton RF2, will stop it as well. Then we have M855, that is a 62 grain lead core round with a conical steel penetrating tip. 3400, 3414, then our M855, easy enough on these shots. M193 number 1, 2, and 3, then our M855 1, 2, and 3. I'm trying to stay away from the outside edges since that polyethylene has bunched up. Helper hand, place those bets in the comments below. Hold on. It's hard to see. It looks like we have R.A.N.G.E. 1 pass through from that M855 down there. I think plate number 2, we'll retest a couple rounds of that. Let's peel all this off here and confirm we have no pass-throughs. Interesting. Oh, looks like we have a second pass-through. Plate number 2 is ready to go. We're going to take 2 more shots of our M855 on this plate before we go on to a different threat. I think we'll shoot some M855A1 at it, but it's going to have to be from a shorter barrel. I figured this is another valid threat depending on where you're going with this plate. This is 5.45 by 39 millimeters, a Russian caliber. This is 7N6M for modernized 52 grain full metal jacket. This has a hardened steel penetrating core compared to the original 7N6, which had a mild steel core. We've got effectively a 24-inch barrel. This is an SSG 82. Deacon will be taking 2 shots, center of mass on the plate for us. 30.48 velocity off the Pro Chrono Pal Chrono. 30.95. Since this plate is not officially rated for M855A1, we're going to start off with the 10.5-inch barrel, and if we stop these, we can step up to a 16. I don't think the 22 will be a wise choice here. This is our U.S. Army's current issue ball round, all the way down to basic M855A1. Copper core slug with a hardened steel penetrating tip, right around 60 RHC. .2730. Easy enough. M855 shots number 1 and number 2 all the way down there. Our 7N6M number 1 and 2. Those are fair hits. And then our M855A1 number 1 and 2. Place those bets in the comments below. R.A.N.G.E. We had 2 pass-throughs on our 7N6M. Again, that's the same hardened steel that M855A1 uses. The core is a lot longer and sometimes hard to stop. Back face-wise on this M855 right up there, very controlled, right around 31 millimeters. I think this plate's use case is to be more of that covert, very thin, lightweight, low drag style, not kind of tank, so to speak, if you're looking to stop all kinds of threats. We'll step up the barrel length with our A1 a little bit, and then I think we'll close it off with some special threats. We stepped up the M855 A1's barrel length to 16 inches. We'll take 3 more shots of that to see what we get. And then I think I have a special treat for you all at the end. Three more shots for this plate, and I think that'll round it out. This is our 8.6 black. Its claim to fame is ultra-fast twist rate barrels, 1 in 3, and mainly driving very long subsonic bullets. And that's kind of where I have an interest. Depending on how thick the plate is, that strike face has to degrade that really long projectile, and then the backer has to catch it. So there's a chance that this could go through. Most of my testing has proven that it's not going to go through, but I figured we'd just round it out. We've got a 250 grain brass solid. We've got a 260 grain tungsten core AP round. It's our Swiss P AP. Then we have a 300 grain copper solid. 1078, 945, 1038. These should be easy enough to see. We had to do a redo on our 8.6 AP because I was aiming there and forgot that I had an A1 shot there. So our 16-inch M855A1, number 1, 2, and 3. Our 8.6 black brass right there. Our 8.6 AP right there. And then our copper right there, helper hand. Uh-oh, R.A.N.G.E. We have penetrations on a few of these rounds here. Our brass solid, as well as all 3 rounds of M855A1, and of course the AP round of 8.6 black because it is tungsten. Very, very interesting that the brass solid was able to penetrate that plate. I think likely because of how long that is, the ceramic strike face has to break it, and when it can't do that, then there's not a lot of polyethylene on this plate, so it just found a way through. Bonus footage, someone asked how lethal something like M855A1 would be after penetrating a plate like this. So we'll take a shot from the 16-inch because we know it will penetrate. There should be a good enough spot left on this. We have a 6x6x16 clear ballistics gel block down there. Here was our shot right there. At this point, we didn't need to measure velocity or be at 45 feet because we know it was going to go through. I would say that's a fair hit. And of course, we have a penetration right there. Now, this is how cool M855A1 is. There's going to be really hard to see on this particular gel block because they're used, but we have quite a bit of fragmentation right here. Out to the 10.5-inch mark is our little penetrator. You can see it's right there. And then all the way out to the 15-inch mark is our copper core. You can kind of see him right there. So very, very interesting. A majority of that bullet is intact after penetrating that plate, and it looks like what's left does quite a bit of damage. And that's what I like about our M855A1. 2 separate wound tracks out to the minimum penetration depths and then some. Very, very solid round. There are our remnants. Here is our penetrating tip. Looks like the front end broke off, and there is our copper slug. Looks like it got mushroomed out a little bit. Paging Dr. Matt to surgery. Paging Dr. Matt to surgery. Now, for a fan favorite, the teardown. That's where we get to look at the inside of our plates and make some guesstimations on the material types used, and I tend to offer any constructive criticism based on my testing alone. I am not any type of engineer. I'm just a guy in the backyard who gets to shoot stuff. So here was plate number 1. We have a very, very thick foam on the back that is used to control our back face deformation. Me personally, I always like to cap that at around 1/4 inch thick and would rather have more layers of polyethylene. So this is around 315 thousandths thick. This is going to be really hard to see. Our only penetrations on plate number 1 that we saw were from the M855 shots. It looks like they are using Honeywell HB24 based on that one. HB24 RO something or other. We measured this right around 344 thousandths thick. Now I can't really tell if it has been pressed, although the thinner the plate is, the less amount of energy it seems to take before it starts to delaminate. So it's just not like they put all the layers together and then use the cover. So there is some rigidity to it, but it seems to have been lost. I would say, based on our 308 shots, 308 is pretty much the limit for this. Those M855 shots, again, in the NIJ's eyes, with the RF2 threat shot pattern, we're going to shoot 3 shots of a particular threat at one plate, switch out to the next. Here is our ceramic strike face. I measured that right around 160 thousandths thick. That is a major manufacturer of ceramic strike faces. They are good to go. It looks like there is a laminating layer on the back, as you can see. I would recommend that we put this on the front as well as a drop face foam to help prevent it from cracking. When we did the drop test, it did crack, or at least sound like it cracked somewhere. Very, very hard to see. I don't see any cracking in the front of the strike face. As far as plate number 2 goes, again, confirmed penetrations were the 7N6M, our 3 shots of the M855A1 at the 16-inch, as well as our brass 8.6 and our AP 8.6. This shot down here was an off-camera gel shot to try to see what M855A1 would do after penetrating a plate. We won't bother peeling the front cover off this, but again, same aluminum strike face. Here is our copper 8.6 black, just stuck in there. Majority, as you can see, of that projectile has not been degraded. There was the AP round. It looks like it pretty much puked the core out of it to penetrate, and then somehow that brass guy just made it right through there. Very, very interesting, likely because of how thin the polyethylene was on the back. Probably couldn't catch it. Overall, not too shabby, if I do say so myself. Well, folks, it's about time to close this one out and get the heck out of here. Our Dayton Armor RF2 plate is the juice worth the squeeze. I would say it all depends on what your mission dictates you need for armor coverage. This plate is lighter than thinner than most all other RF2 offerings out there currently, but I would say the downside of it to being thinner and lighter is that there is less material for our bullets to contend with. So when we shot our 308 at it, it's pretty much at the limit for our back face right out of the box. We saw some delamination early on with this plate. We've seen that with other brands before, but it's a good thing that this does employ a ceramic strike face because it was able to contend with our M855 as well as our M193 and even M855A1 from a 10.5-inch barrel. The 16-inch barrel was too much for it. We didn't bring the 14.5 out either today. As far as our 7N6M goes, again, that's a worst case scenario because that is out of a 24-inch barrel. Likely anyone else is going to see much shorter barrel lengths with that being shot at it. I think our most interesting result was our 250 grain brass solid in 8.6 black. I had been shooting our 300 grain copper solids at some other RF2 plates and it had been stopping it. And for whatever reason, that brass solid has just the right construction to break that strike face apart and then penetrate through that Honeywell Spectra shield. Overall, like I mentioned in the teardown, I think if we were to reduce the amount of that foam in the back and replace that with more Dyneema and possibly press it, if it is not pressed, we could have a better performing plate without too much of a weight penalty. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here, but at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible because there's a lot that goes into them. Number one is my family. Deacon came out here to do some shooting today and he's always glad to help me do some of this armor testing, and any time that I can spend with him is greatly appreciated. Number two is my Patreon, Subscribestar, and YouTube channel memberships. I have a campsite in the description below. There's various different affiliate links or discount codes in there, and they earn me a sales commission. And what I do with that is I put it right back in the channel. Number three is Dayton Armor. Again, in full transparency, provided me with a discount code to purchase those so that I can give you guys data. Of course, number four is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.